Hi, this is Dave, Fell Running Guide. Welcome to another navigation task, and today we've got another compare map and photograph task. There's the photograph, so I want to know where the photograph was taken from and can we identify these three features inside the red ovals. So that's our photograph, and that's the map. We're using the Ordnance Survey 1 to 25,000 map in this case. So first of all, let's have a look at the photograph. What can we see? Well, we're on looks like a large rock, and immediately ahead of us we've got quite a broad flat plateau, and then it looks like the ground drops away quite steeply out of sight, and then in the middle distance we've got another kind of flatter area running left to right before the ground drops away again into looks like a wooded valley. Maybe presume that there's a stream in there running right to left as we look. We've got woods there, and then beyond that the ground rises again onto this quite a flat hillside. We can see these areas where the heather has been either burnt or cropped back. That's to do with grouse management, so that's not going to show up on the map, but it's an interesting feature. And then here you can see it looks like we've got some kind of stream coming down off this flat hillside, draining from there down, almost heading straight towards at this point, and then down into the stream or the valley that's out of our sight, just down in there. And then to the right, as we look, we can see, looking at this feature, we've got a ridge that rises up to high ground, going off out of sight of the photograph to our right. And then as we look at this high ground here, and drops away to the left, and we can see quite an obvious wide steep valley there, and the feature inside the red oval looks like there's some kind of erosion feature or maybe some craggy ground there. And if we look at the shadows here, we can see there we've got almost like a right angle in here where the ground is shaped, and that's the shadow being cast sort of left to right. So we've got a obviously high point there, and then draining down into this large stream or river. And then we can see just at this point here we've got quite a defined path that is on the right hand side of this valley as we look at it. So those are the features on the photo. Let's have a look at the map. So what we want to see is we're looking down onto a stream with trees in it. Well, the main valley is this one here, looking running from northwest down, then running eastwards and around, and then down to the south. And we can see we've got trees here and trees here, so we're looking down onto that. So we couldn't really be looking from this area down with this stream coming in from the left hand side, because on the photograph it's running across us from right to left as we look. So could we be up on this area here looking across to the first stream that's running across us that drains down into this main valley which is running away from us? So we could be doing that. I'm just putting that on without the red circles on, just to get a bit of a better view. So stream running across us, a higher ground beyond it with a ridge, and then this main valley there. So that would be this stream across us with the trees in it, flat land beyond it, possibly a ridge here, and then this main valley coming down here. So that puts us up somewhere near this crow stones area. But let's have a look if we can see a little bit more precisely than that. So we're looking almost directly up this drainage feature coming off the ground ahead of us. And also, if we look at this path here, we can see we're looking almost along it, not absolutely, but that path there, if we project it back, comes pretty close to us in a straight line. So we're looking from there and from this. There's that little track alongside the stream. So let's see if we can work out where they come to. So if this is the stream ahead of us, looking directly back, then what we could do, we could put an arrow on there. So straight back from there, we're somewhere along that line. And similarly for this track here, somewhere roughly along that line, not exactly. So where might we be? Well, let's have a look back at the photograph again. It's fairly hard to judge the distance, but we've got this flat plateau immediately ahead of us, and then it drops away. In terms of distance, that's not a significant distance. It's not a long flat area or a long gradual decline. It's quite a short plateau before it drops away. So that, if we bring it back to the map, and what I'm going to do is just zoom in a little bit here so we can see it in a little bit more detail. So there we've zoomed in and we've got the lines going roughly towards where we're heading. Now, if we think about being up here, see this land here, this is quite a long flat area before it drops away. So don't think we're on that bit, but look at this long flat area along there. Could we be on that little flat plateau there? We could be. Notice here we've got lots of rocks. Now on the photograph there was only one rock, there weren't very many rocks ahead of us, so you might say, why aren't we looking at those? Now those may well be hidden out of sight in dead ground that's dropped away as we're looking down, so we can't see those. They're just over the crest of this steepening of the ground here. If we were here, we'd be looking down and across rocky ground, because the boulders here are shown almost immediately ahead of us, whereas here there's that gap. So we could be looking down and across from this area here. So that kind of rules out this Crowstones area here and puts it more Crowstones Edge. And the other thing to think about is if we were over here at Crowstones looking down, then we'd be looking more across this track here rather than more along it if we were looking from a little bit further southeast. So what about the other features? Well, what about this great big erosion area in the landscape just back beyond that path? Can we see that? So if we're looking over from here, there's that track, and then here we've got this eroded area. See, we've got these little crags in there, and very distinctive change in the contour, and also we've got a boundary line along the top of it there, and we can see that sharp change in angle. And I was mentioning the shadow before, how the shadow changes, so that's looking at that. And then the third the other feature that we're looking for, which is this ridge here. So can we see that? So if we're looking across here, across that wooded stream going up of Little Stainery Clough, and that drainage going up onto the high ground, then the ridge was to the right of that. So we're looking at that ridge there going up to the high ground that goes out of the photograph. So your answers are: the photograph was taken from Crowstone's Edge, looking across to the wooded valley of Little Stainery Clough. That flat plateau immediately ahead of us was this little widening of the contours there, and then the rocky ground was out of sight ahead of us, down tucked away under the steepening. The big eroded area to the left hand side was this here, sort of deer holes, and that was the ridge over to the right. So I think these two were easy to identify, maybe not quite as easy to get this particular little feature. Some people thought the photo was taken from up there, but I think it's this rough bouldery ground that gives it away, because that little area there is an area that doesn't have any boulders shown on it. So that would be the key for what we're looking at there. Just zoom in a little bit more. There we can see that flat area there. So those are your answers. I hope you got it right or learned a little bit from it. Thanks for watching, and look out for next week's navigation task. Bye for now.